Hello punters and welcome back to another Saturday Racing Review show. Of course, in this video, I'll look at the weekend racing on Saturday. From the three meetings that we'll be looking at this weekend, we're looking at each race from Flemington, of course, Randwick, and then also Eagle Farm as well, where we look to find potentially some horses to follow going into the coming weeks and further on into this preparation and perhaps even into spring if we want to look that far ahead. But just basically going through uh, each race, reviewing some of the runners in the race, the ones to look forward to, and perhaps any forgive runs or any of the such that basically just building like a bit of a black book in a way, which is I find being very beneficial in finding a lot of horses that have come out and won in recent weeks. Obviously, I didn't do this last week, and I do apologise for that, and I do apologise for missing out on bringing out the Randwick video as well. So my sincerest apologies for bringing that out, not releasing that. I've been really sort of struck down with time and whatnot in recent weeks. So, but once again, I do apologise. I'll do the best I can to be able to be releasing it, all the videos and trying to get all of it out to you guys out there that watch these videos. So I appreciate all the support and the patience. Hopefully we can, from here on out, I can be a bit more consistent with getting these videos out for you. So we're going to look at Flemington first and foremost on the weekend. Of course, it was raced on a heavy track as was predicted in my preview for the Flemington race meeting. And looking at race number one, it was a 2,500 metre race, benchmark 84. So in terms of this race here was a couple of disappointing performances from the two favourites. Shepherd and Star Carson never really came into the race. Yonkers was a long way back, so it was a bit of a rough result for punters in the first, with Sasko saluting for Matt Kamani. Ended up paying $25 on the tote. So, look, it was coming in off the back of that Warrnambool performance where it beat Nashville, Sand and Clementina at a benchmark 78 there. So it really did step up in the grade and won well again. So it's rock hard fit, and sometimes that's the way you just want to go out of that race. Good idea, ran its good honest race again, getting very close to a win now. It was a very noticeable horse that was gaining ground there. So I was impressed with Good Idea, and I want to be following Good Idea from here on out. Nothing against Sasko's performance. Obviously, the price profile suggests, but he did come in obviously with off the back of that win at Warrnambool on a wet track. So he is a swimmer, and we do know that. So if we get that wet track again, he could be continue his form very easily. In terms of horse from back in the field, there wasn't a whole lot that made the ground throughout the day. As we saw in a couple of races later on the program, they were fanning out and getting out wide and coming down the track. So, but early on in this first race, there wasn't a whole lot. So for me, it was a little bit tough to find few horses to follow out of this because, like I said, Shepherd, Starcaster, and Yonkers were very disappointing. They were the three that were really well supported in the market. So you can perhaps give them a bit of a a bit of forgive run being on a heavy track. If they can get back on top of the ground or onto that soft surface, which I mentioned with Starcaster was my on-top selection. Perhaps I was a bit unsure on how he would handle the heavy conditions, and in the end he didn't. So if they can get back onto that soft surface, I think you could still probably keep with them. But look, all honest with Sasko, the winner was rock hard fit, led all the way and didn't let it even catch him. And I would be following Good Idea out of the race though as well. Moving on to race number 2 at Flemington, and it was a 1,400 metre race. So it was for the 2-year-olds, and boy, was a more to love good with the, of course, my on-top selection in that race. He was just fantastic. He made the step up in grade like I thought he would, and he won way more impressive than I thought he would as well. He just led all the way and kicked away and just didn't let him catch him. A 3.5 length win. He was eased down late on the line by Craig Newitt. It was a superb performance and a superb win by him. Definitely one you want to be following. Kukakoe was really good coming through the line. Indictment made that improvement that I suggested that horse probably would make. So I was pretty well on the mark, and I'd rocked the ring as well. So I did have the top 4. If my memory serves me correctly, I had the top 4 and I had them almost in order as well. So played out pretty much the way I saw it was going to happen and the way that the market predicted it was going to happen as well. Of course, they were the 4 fancy runners in the race, and that's how it turned out in the end. But yeah, look, very impressive and more to love. Definitely the horse I'll be following out of that race. Took care of the opposition there really well. Look, Indictment has always been one that I've said I've wanted to follow, and I've followed since that Flying Award race at Flemington a couple of weeks ago, just because I feel that form line was really going to stand up. And Indictment did improve and run well, but look, I mean, Immortal did have a bit on these. Rock the Ring was coming home just fairly, nothing really too flash. So for me, all honours with the winner. Immortal Love was definitely the one to follow out of race number 2. Moving into race number 3, it was a 1400-meter race for the 3-year-olds, and it was taken out by La Chevalier, who was very good in coming through the line and winning. I made a bit of a case for it in my preview, and she was really well backed as well. La Chevalier was it was really strongly supported late in the piece, and ended up jumping as a $4.20 shot, and did the punters it back to her justice. She ran really well there. So that was an impressive performance. Diaquin was a bit of a surprising run. I didn't see that coming from her, so that was a nice performance from her. Denton Deficit just continues to be towards the right in the finish line. She just continues to run her good races, and she was good once again. Got home for 3rd. So I mean, in terms of I guess you could follow her coming out. I was keen on She Shall Fly. Just didn't seem to handle the heavy conditions. I'm not too sure what happened there. She never really came into the race, and look, she in the end she was knocked about the last 100 meters, so she really couldn't really run onto the race. So look, I'll probably still stick with her personally. I'll forgive the heavy run track. Obviously, prior to that, she ran really well on a heavy track, which is why I was a bit surprised she didn't really handle the surface. But she's also a filly that hasn't really, I guess, she's had a few issues, so hopefully she's escaped that without too many minor issues there. But yeah, look. I don't think this will be too bad of a form race. I think with the time that I ran and the way it panned out, that it was quite a nice race. And look, but all honours with La Chevalier, she was very good. Diaquin could really go around at big odds. Next up being from Nigel Blackson's stable. So perhaps one you might want to follow there. Moving on into race number 4. And look, it was again a really good race up the straight over 1100 metres, benchmark 78. Alpha Oro just continues its winning form so far. Look, he has been just fantastic since he came back from that long spell where he was out for 71 weeks, and he went fresh first up in a Pakenham. He finished second over 1200 metres to a horse called Phoenix Glover. It looks a pretty smart horse. And then since then, it's just been faultless as dispatch of its opposition. But this was an impressive performance for me because he was challenged and he continued to find and he continued to kick to the line. And I thought that was a really impressive win by him. He's definitely one to follow. Spirit of Quada was a very nice run at big odds. Pinion was the real one for me. I was a little bit hesitant to put her on top. I've always had time for her and always been a follower of her. And she resumed really well, and that was a good run by her. She came home really nicely late, so I'll be following her out of that race. Ruben Blur ran pretty well second up. Obviously, will get better probably the further into the prep it goes. I did make a chance of Montenegro Man, was just fair. I'll still be looking to follow that horse coming out of it though. But look, all honours with the winner, Alpha Oro. He was fantastic. Pinion was a real eye catcher late. One I'll be definitely looking to follow out of the race. Moving on to race number 5, and Gamekeeper was able to, I guess, extend off its recent form which saw it win obviously the race over at Morphettville, which was which was, of course, the LA Guineas. Was a really impressive performance there, really dispatch of its opposition there. And then he came here, he had to carry 62 kilos, step up 2,000 metres for the first time, which is why I was against him. I was just thought, he's really going to have to show why he's the real deal, and he did. He was fantastic. It was a superb performance again by him, and he's definitely a horse to follow. He's looks to have a lot of upside and a lot of talent. He's put it together, and a win like that's not easy coming onto a heavy track. 2,000 metres at Flemington, and then obviously carrying 62 kilos is not an easy achievement, and he managed to do so and do it quite well. Blue Ocean was an eye catcher late. Boy, did he run to the line well. He was superb from back in the field. He's definitely one you want to follow. He went in at big odds, and I did make a case for him, and I thought that he would, obviously being a son of Ocean Park, that he would really appreciate the step up in distance, and he was terrific at big odds, so he ran really well. November Dream was my on-top selection. She got really well backed late, and she ended up jumping at $4.20 as one of the favourites, and she was the second favourite, in fact, in the market, and she ran really well. She was a good enough performance from her. And Highland Jack is also one that I thought really did come to the line well, and perhaps is one you want to follow. So Highland Jack, I'd be following the top 4, to be honest, and I think it's going to be a good enough form race. Even some of the likes of He's a Fox and Turidan got a bit of time for them, and that they were just okay as well to the line. But all honours to the winner gamekeeper. He looks to be a real serious type, and Blue Ocean is definitely one I'll be following, who looks to be progressing and getting better and better with each start. So definitely a horse to watch out for. And November Dreaming returned to, I guess, the ability that we knew that she had, and the types of runs that she's got in her after a disappointing performance out at Morphettville as a favourite. Moving on to race number 6, and it was the other straight race over 1,200 metres. It was the listed Hilton Nicholas straight 6 race, and it was taken out by Grade again, who, again, did make a bit of a case for in my preview, and really did run well. It was really good first up, continues its great fresh record, of course, leading to that race. Its fresh record was 7 starts for 3 wins and a second. So, and obviously the wet track form was superior. So I looked a little bit disappointed in find on top of the on top selection I did have Rich Charm. He was terrific. He was motoring home, and he was a very sick beat. I was really pacing around, I guess, after that result, because I was just, I couldn't believe that he didn't get up. I was so positive he was going to get over the top, and I was going to be getting a nice collect at the $34. So I know that a few of you out there did message me on Instagram and social media and saying that you did find Rich Charm and you backed him each way. So obviously a good result. He ended up paying $8 for the place, but oh, gee, it would have really set up the weekend if he got up at the $31. As soon as we would have been allowed to go on holiday again, I'd be going straight out there for sure. So, unfortunately, he didn't quite get the job done, and he won't go around as those bigger odds again for a little while, I wouldn't say. He was very impressive, and it was good to see him back and running a race like that. Home of the Brave was terrific as well. He's been hard to follow for punters, but he ran well there. He had to carry a lot of weight, and he did so nicely. So he was an improved performer and ran a nice race at good odds as well. As I didn't have him in my top 4, but I did suggest that he would be a chance. Some of the disappointing runners. I thought Haunted was a fraction disappointing. He was up there and looking to be perhaps a chance to the finish, but he was no good. Milwaukee was really disappointing. He, of course, jumped to the favourite. He was quite disappointing in the race as well. Rich Itch ran on really well, so I was impressed with the performance of Rich Itch, and I suggested that he would run quite well, and did so. So that was impressive to see from him, and I think he'll improve off of that run as well. Yeah, so for me, out of that race number 6, I think there's quite a few to follow out of that. So we'll obviously be looking forward for that form line going ahead. I think Great Again was fantastic first up, and definitely is one to follow. And like I said, Rich Charmy looked to be getting close to back to the type of sprinter that we know he is. So that was an impressive performance by him, and we'll be looking to watch him going forward. As well as Rich Itch. I think Rich Itch could be one that could win a good race at a decent price going ahead from here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, like I mentioned, Home of the Brave was quite good in that race as well. Moving on to race number 7 now, and it was the 800 metre benchmark 84 Bruce Anniversary Platon. It was taken out by Savahit and knocked a lot of people out of their quaddies, including myself. So it was a rough result, but look, Duke of Plumpton was one of my best bets of the day. He ran on pretty well, and unfortunately, it was a bit of the way that the day went for myself and anyone that followed me in. It was quite a few placings, unfortunately, and it was 2 narrow seconds in consecutive races. So it was quite hard to take, but look, he ran really well, and still is one I want to be following. He's got a stack of ability, does it on all, obviously the wet tracks at his go, and as long as he finds a wet track, he can be winning it. He could be right in the finish for a lot of races from here on out. He's a very good horse to back as a punter, so I'll be following him going forward. Masaf was excellent and made the sort of improvement that I thought he would make. I did say he was going to go around at big odds, and he did so. So hopefully some of you took my comments on board and ended up backing him each way. He was very good through the line late, and I'll be definitely looking forward. As soon as he steps out of that 2,000 metres, he'll be the one I'll be backing. I don't care what race he goes in. He's got a stack of ability, and he's really progressing through the grades. I like the way that Chris Wallace panned out his 2 runs so far, and he has been really, really good so far. So I was impressed with his performance. Southern Rock improved immensely off that first up run, which was great to see, because again, another one who I think's got some ability, of course, being the UK import as well. So he was quite good through the line, and he went around at $26. So I mean, wouldn't be surprised if he still goes around a decent enough price next start. So he could be one that we could follow. And some of the other runners that were a little touch disappointing. I thought Arctic Shock was a little bit disappointing. I was expecting a bit more from her. Supre and Aussie Nugget, they were both very good. They did come from a long way back, which wasn't really, I guess, the way to do it in this race. There was a few of them that were sort of settled closer to the pace that were able to, I guess, nick this race. Whereas Masaf did come from a long way back, and that's why I was very impressive performance. So for me, look, the winner was good. Duke of Plumpton, like I said, I was impressed with his performance, and he kept fighting the line. When he got headed, he actually seemed to find that extra kick. He looked like he was gone from a long way out, but he kept finding to the line, and that was impressive for me. So he's one I want to follow. I want to follow number 1, Masaf. He was terrific. And Southern Rock's another one that I want to be following out of that race as well, who finished in 5th there. I think he's got a lot of improvement in him as well. Moving on to race number 8, and it was the Apache Cat Handicap over the 600 metres. And Reykjavik made that improvement that I suggested he would make. And he was very impressive coming back to Flemington, a track that he just loves. He's had 6 starts to the track now for 3 wins and 2 placings. So anytime he finds a race at Flemington and at that type of distance range of the mile, he's definitely one you want to be having a look at. And look, I'm quite annoyed that I went with Shot of Irish again. Was 3 seconds within 2 races, and fortunately just was pit by horses that I did make a case for. And this is why I do appreciate and I guess I release these preview videos, because it's all well and good to follow maybe one selection, but for me, the idea around it is to give you guys a bit of a guide on what I think are the major chances. And if there's something that you really like and I make a mention of it, it might grow your confidence. So it's not so much about me telling you guys, oh, you need to follow this because I've got it on top. I'm just making a good case for each horse in the race that I think could be in the finish. And obviously Reykjavik is another one of them. And hopefully one week I can manage to put the on top selections and get quite a lot of winners out of it. Unfortunately, over the last few weeks, I've been finding a lot of horses that I have given a good chance to have been in my top 3 or 4, but I haven't put them on top, and that's been the only unfortunate thing. So hopefully for some of you out there that perhaps make a few plays in each race, I know that I do that sometimes as well. You were able to find a few winners out of that the previews ahead of the Saturday racing on the weekend. But Shot of Irish was good, continued its wet track form. Django Freeman, real eye catcher, and I know Robbie Hickman was very impressed with his performance, so he's one we want to be following going forward. That was an impressive first up performance. Once he steps out of that 2,000 metres plus, he's going to be hard to beat. I don't think he'll go around at those type of odds of the $11 that he jumped at on the weekend, but he's definitely one you want to be following out of it. Charossa made good ground late for Gordon Richards. He was a good performance. Sosie Bomb was a bit disappointing, as perhaps I suggest he would have been. I did think he was a bit under the odds. He just, for some reason, when he comes to Flemington, he just doesn't quite show up. And obviously, I saw one of your comments in down below, and you did make a good mention that obviously a lot of those races were proper group racing, and this was obviously a lot easier company, and he is in great form at the moment. So I could forgive it because, like I said, it was at a track that he's only won once at from 21 starts now. So, you can perhaps forgive that if he goes back to Caulfield or a track, I guess, that has that shorter straight. That seems to be his go at the moment. So if he gets back to that, he could be winning a race, and hopefully now he could go around to the bigger odds after that bit of a disappointment on the weekend. So it might actually be a blessing of skies for his followers on the weekend if you want to back him going forward from here. But look, yeah, Reykjavik was excellent. Django Freeman, though, is the big follow out of that race that you want to be getting on next time out when he steps out at the 2,000 metres plus. He looks to be a real talent. Moving on to the final race of the card, and Rocco Bascarano got the chocolates and made a bit of a case for him, and he was very good for Will Clarkin. That was a good first up performance. He won it quite easily in the end, so I mean that was a nice win by him. High Stranger, again, I couldn't understand why he went at such big odds, and that's why I made a good case for him, because I just thought that he was a last start winner over a distance that wasn't necessarily his go. He's proven to be around the sort of the mile mark, and he won brilliantly at first up at Caulfield over the 2,000. He's now run a good second again at 1,100 metres. I suggest he won't be going around at the $20 odds when he steps out in distance, because he'll be winning for sure. The Astrologist was good. My top selection was strongly backed late in the last. Jumped at 3:30, ended up jumping the favourite as Hilo went for a bit of a drift, as I suggested that it might have done. Can't Be Done wasn't too bad. First up, Lombardo made that improvement that I thought he would make. He was obviously rolled as a $1.30 favourite. First up, after coming back from Hong Kong, he was obviously sold to Hong Kong. Came back here after he had that brilliant debut win where he won by 4.3 lengths. And since then, he's he's got a lot of ability, and it was good to see him run a good race against some decent opposition. So I suggest that this could be a good form race, and you could probably still follow the top 6 out of that race. I think that they've all got wins in them. Can't Be Done is definitely one I'll be following. I think it'll be much better second and third up, so we will be following that. And High Stranger's one we'll be following when it steps out in distance. And I'm sure the Astrologer's got a win in it pretty soon as well. So now that is the Flemington card. I'm going to look at the Eagle Farm meeting now and run through that. So looking at race number 1, and it was taken out my Cosmic Gossip. It was Nat and it beat Ready for Magic right on the line. I thought I had a good thing there. First tipped it at $10 in my preview, jumped at $4.20. Obviously, there was quite a few scratchings in the race, but look, yeah, that was a good run. And Tumbler Ridge, the favourite, ran pretty well as well. But look, all honest with Cosmic Gospel, that was a nice win by you. But and Ready for Magic, I definitely won't be jumping off. I thought that was a good enough performance. Move on to race number 2, and Red Chase again narrowly brought down Thy Kingdom Come, who made that run on the bend, which was for me was a good decision by Ryan Maloney. I know you could say that now that that when it obviously got beat on the line, you could say it was a poor decision, but they were going at such a slow tempo, and he tried to get it going, and honestly thought right up until that last sort of 50 metres that it was going to be a winning move. So it was a good performance. Obviously Red Chase ran it down. Tricky Girl finishing for third. They were my top 3. I thought they were going to be extremely hard to beat, and that ended up being the case. And Reckless Choice ran home pretty well and for fourth. So I probably want to be following Reckless Choice. I thought that was a good run home, and Tricky Girl was good. Red Chase obviously continues this good form as well at that race. So nothing I want to be necessarily following strongly at that race, but I think you could potentially, Reckless Choice could be one that could go around at bigger odds next time out. Was really hitting the line well, and the closing sectionals were quite good from that horse. Race number 3, 1,000 metre race, was taken out by Wormpa. I was obviously with Bringing Home Pop, who I again tipped at massive odds at the 650 when we did the preview, and jumped as the favourite at 360. It was extremely disappointing, unfortunately. So don't say I'm going to be following it out of that race there. I'm not sure if there was any abnormalities from that horse out of that race. I'll just have a look here. Yeah, look, that doesn't really say too much. The veterinary reported that the gelding had a cardiac arrhythmic post-race, so in fact, you could probably forgive that there. I mean, obviously that's a big shame, and hopefully he comes out of that okay. So you could probably forgive that. So keep an eye on that. I didn't know that was the case. I did obviously see that he was eased up out of the race, but he look. Yeah, like I said, he could go around the decent odds next time out, so we could probably follow him into that. So that's quite an interesting little thing to follow there. So he could be one that I'll still be keen to stick with. But look, the favourite was good. The winner was good. Truculent was quite good as well. I thought that was a nice performance from it first up off just as a quick 3-week freshen up. So it wasn't quite first up, but came out off a freshen up there and ran pretty well. Moving on into race number 4, it was taken out by Red Steiner, and in that race, So Dapper was my on top selection, finished in for third. So again, unfortunately, another placing. Have plenty of bonus bets sitting in the account on the weekends. Unfortunately, but that's how it goes sometimes in racing. That is punting for everyone out there, and we all go through those days, unfortunately. But look, yeah, it was taken out nicely by Red Steiner, and Seat of Power was quite good through the line. So Dapper wasn't too bad either. Nothing that I want to be really zeroing in on going forward, potentially for me. Moving on to race number 5, and it was taken out by Plenty, who I did make a case for, and unfortunately, he got up and just narrowed Totally Charmed on the line, which again was my tip at $7. I'd originally tipped him at $7.50. Got well back into $4.60. So don't know how many of you out there are getting behind my on top selections. I seem to be had a lot of them on the weekend really come in the market strongly. So I do appreciate if you guys got that support for me out there. But look, Plenty was good. Obviously, the former Chris Waller galloper always had plenty of ability. Looks like Stuart Kendrick has a bit out of it. So if he can hit the sort of heights that I guess he always has promised to do, being, of course, the son of Zoostar, he could, maybe chip out a decent type of black type race. I'm not sure if he can get that far, but he could be interesting to see if Stuart Kendrick does step him now right up in grade. That, of course, was benchmark 78 in the weekend. So he is one I want to be following. And Stylish Saga really hit the line well, finished 4th there. I was impressed with the way he ran home, and I'll be following him out of that race as well. So they're probably the 2 major ones I'll be taking out of race number 5 at Eagle Farm. Moving on to race number 6, and I think this will be a decent little form race. And I was surprised in the end. Rothfire and Isotope won with the 1-2, the Queensland pair, obviously taking out the Group 2 Shannon Classic. Rothfire just continues his fantastic form at Eagle Farm. I mean, look at it now. He's now had 4 starts at track for 4 wins. He's only missed a top 2. He hasn't missed a top 2 finish from his 6 race starts. So he looks to be a serious horse. I'm interested to see how he develops from here and whether he how he goes as a 3-year-old perhaps next season, or if they decide to target a race in spring down at potentially Rosehill or Randwick during the spring. So I'll be interested to see if where they take him. He looks to have a lot of ability. While Rulenball and Tox Selection was good enough, I thought Balix and Kukaracha, they never really came on into the race, which I thought they might have done, but definitely all honours with the top 3. And look, I'd still be sticking with Balix and Kukaracha. I think they got a bit of ability, and I'll forgive that run from each of those 2 there. They just weren't able to come into it. It was really an on-pace dominated race. They were the 3 that were up towards the pace, and they were the ones that kicked away and got the job done and filled out the 1, 2, 3 positions. So moving on to race, I'll look at, like I said, I'll be following quite a few out of that race. So moving on to race number 7, Super Giant got the job done over Ballistic Boy. It was a great finish as well. They were driving go, really impressive finish there. And Super Giant made a bit of a case for him a preview as well, and ended up winning the race. Canaan was obviously my top selection. Came from so far back. Was never going to win from way back there, but he was good, and don't necessarily mind that too much. I mean, obviously, eating the wounds of, I guess, getting onto him at the $2, but obviously got the bonus bet out of it, so I can't complain too much. And but look, he was not too bad, and he was a real eye catch from so far back. He was always going to struggle to win from back there. I was hoping that Ryan Maloney was going to be a little bit more positive and just get him into that sort of midfield position, but in the end, look, it wasn't his fault drawing that wide barrier. I think he just wanted to take luck out of the equation. Took it back in the field and was hoping that maybe he'd be good enough to run home and run strong, and he did run home well. But look, Skyhorse was another one who ran pretty well. I want to be following, so you can probably. I really want to follow Canaan, obviously. He's the obvious one, and Skyhorse was good as well. Nothing against the top 2, but they obviously were out and bit in the market. I'll be interested to see where they go from here, but in terms of the 2 that I'll be following the most, Canaan and Skyhorse were quite good, considering the way the race was run there. Moving on to race number 8, and it was Victorian returning to his brilliant best in the Group 2 Tab Victory Stakes. He was superb, and again, made a bit of a case for him. Didn't have him in my top 4, but I did suggest that if he could bounce back to his best, he could win a race like that, and he did so at really nice odds, so he was impressive. Deep Image ran really well, a horse who I know that Robert Heathcote's had plenty of time for, and obviously has a lot of ability and was really good there and ran a nice race. So Deep Image would be one I want to follow out of the Tab Victory Stakes. Outback Barbie is good and will be a horse that will get better the deeper into the preparation he gets. So I was happy with his performance. My 2 on top, my 2 selections I was quite keen on. Winter Bride and Tambo's Mate just ran okay. Kematari, he was okay through the line as well. He was really starting to get through his work late. So that's I know he's a hard horse to follow, but I will be following him because he was coming home and he just seems to be getting closer and closer. And I wouldn't be surprised if he is being built towards the Stradbroke, and obviously that is being talked about to be his grand final. So I'm not sure that he can win a Stradbroke, but obviously his ability he can, and I don't think he's going as bad as his results will suggest. So he'll go around at big odds, hopefully. And if we get him at those big odds, I'll definitely be giving him a good chance in whatever race he goes in from here, whether that be the Stradbroke or another sort of distance race, sprint race from here. Moving on to the final race of the card, and unfortunately we had no luck in the final race. My top selection didn't end up running in the race, unfortunately, which was Great Keppel. But it was taken out by Potro Duro. Obviously, it was a quite good performance in the end. Some of the more fancy runners in that race after Great Keppel were scratched. One or two, there was a few of them that ran okay, but there was nothing really too expansive of that race I'm going to be following in from. So that is the meeting at Eagle Farm. I'll be moving on to the Randwick meeting now. So just I'm going to have a quick pause and bring up that meeting for you now.